Welcome to my book review of Running on Empty, Overcome Your Childhood Emotional Neglect by Dr. Jonice Webb. This book has been absolutely instrumental, influential, amazing in my own journey of recovery and also for my clients. She has a childhood emotional neglect questionnaire that I use with my clients, and I would say 70, possibly more, 70+% of my clients come with a mid to high score of childhood emotional neglect. Now, she goes into what that actually is. It's not physical neglect, it's not abuse, it's, many people have had those things, but emotional neglect is actually invisible. It's what we weren't given. So it's where our emotions weren't validated enough for us to get the message that our feelings matter, that we mattered as children. So she talks about, she's really good. I mean, she says, first, all good parents are guilty of emotionally failing their children at times. Nobody's perfect. She actually does this chapter really well where she's, talks to you if you're a parent, and she's like, don't judge yourself, don't be guilty, because it's not your fault. You most likely grew up with emotional neglect yourself. And so basically she gives you what is a healthy parent, but she also talks about the ways that we end up running on empty. And what that means is, to me, what my understanding is that we're empty because we're not in touch with our feelings. Our feelings are still in there. They're absolutely in there. Many clients come to me, they feel numb, they feel empty, they don't feel like they think they should feel, like looking around at how other people are feeling. They might fake their feelings, act out. So I used to observe people and then, if that's how I was supposed to react, or that's terrible if that's how I react, because I wasn't in touch with my own feelings around a certain situation. I'd walled off my feelings. I used addiction, drinking, drugs, smoking, food, lots of different things to repress my feelings. And this book has helped me to unlock my feelings and let them out. And so she talks about how we end up. She talks about 12 ways that we end up feeling empty. Our tank, our feeling tank, our love tank ends up empty. So she talks about the different types of parents. Now, I'm not going to go into all of them, but she talks about the authoritarian parent versus the permissive parent. She talks about maybe you had a parent who was bereaved or divorced or widowed and how that could affect you. Maybe you had an addicted parent or a depressed parent, or maybe you had a workaholic parent. Maybe you had a special needs member in the family, and that meant you didn't get enough attention because all the attention went on the special needs member, child maybe. The achievement, perfection focused parent, the well-meaning but neglected themselves parent, which is so many parents, because our parents weren't given what they needed, then they couldn't pass that down and then give that to us. So, she has a lot of good takeaway things in here. She also has what I like about things, as I've mentioned in other books, what I really like is that it gives you practical ways to heal your childhood emotional neglect. It gives you actual steps to try, things to try. Gives you some change sheets, things to tick off. I love a good little tick sheet. I've got my habit checker, tick, 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 and again, that just embeds new ways of being. So everyone's experience of childhood neglect is different, and what that can, then she talks about how that can show up when we're an adult if we're not aware that we've been emotionally neglected as a child, because it's invisible. Many people that come to me, they say, I had a great childhood, I had a happy childhood, we had trips away, I had a good home, I had good schooling, I had the clothes, I had food on the table. We had really, really good lives, but it was just that our emotions weren't validated enough that we then knew how to deal with emotions. So that can show up as feeling empty. That can show up as unrealistic self-appraisal. So we can be too hard on ourselves, not see the strengths and weaknesses in ourselves. We might not have any compassion for ourselves, but we might be really compassionate for other people, but really whip ourselves. Guilt and shame, thoughts of what's wrong with me, why do I feel like this, or why don't I feel like that, seeing how other people feel. Maybe a lot of self-directed anger and blame, The fatal flaw, if people really knew me, they wouldn't like me. Who's thought that before, you know? Poor self-discipline, and generally poor awareness and understanding of our emotions. So she talks about, you know, the neglected child all grown up and how that shows up. And so you can see, oh, wow, that's because of things that I didn't necessarily get. And then she talks about the healing. How do we heal from running on empty? And of course, it's about feeling our feelings, getting in touch with our feelings. And she gives us practical ways of doing that. I love that she teaches us understanding the purpose and value of your emotions. For example, fear tells us to escape or self-preservation. Anger pushes us to fight back. Love drives us to care for other people. Hurt pushes us maybe to correct the situation. Sadness tells us we're losing something or someone important. So, you know, she gives us ways to identify and name our feelings. There's a massive big feelings list that you can check into, and you can look at it and go, wow, for anxious, for example, daunted, timid, knotted, self-conscious, neurotic, restless, fretful, stressed, all these different words that we may not have been taught or experienced. So if you're feeling empty, or you're feeling like you're not so in touch with your feelings, this could be why. It's invisible. Because we look back and we go, well, I had a good childhood. I didn't get beaten. I didn't get hit. I didn't get hurt. I didn't get yelled at, abused, all of these types of things. Sometimes it's not what happened, it's what didn't happen. And that's what I loved about this book. So I would say 8 to 9 out of 10 for this book. Very beneficial, very helpful, highly recommend it.